Hello, guys, and welcome. It's Jess from Play US A to Z, and I'm joined by a special guest because we have a special birthday. Colorado sports betting turned 1 on May 1st, or will turn 1 on May 1st, so we're celebrating. And Ian, not gonna lie, I got a cupcake for you. Unfortunately, someone seemed to believe it was for them.
Well, I'm glad he thought it was his, because my waistline will thank the sloth for eating that cupcake.
There's a little bit of frosting left. I'm not gonna lie, I'm making most of it. We should do content with cupcakes more often.
We should. I don't know if my gut would like it, but
well, hopefully it can be paid for by your growing Colorado bankroll on table tennis betting and rodeo betting, because that is just two of the strange things that Colorado kind of had happen in this first year. A year that started out really weird, right? So Colorado launched May 1st, and we claim it's been around a year, but really, what happened that first month?
it was, I still can't get over the fact that a sports betting market launched with a global pandemic going on. With literally no sports to bet on, with no Major League Baseball, with no NBA playoffs, with no Stanley Cup playoffs. The only thing to bet on was Korean baseball and table tennis.
And I remember we were excited. We were like, guys, Korea's going to play baseball. It was amazing. And if you haven't gotten a chance to see, Ian is part of the documentary we made about the launch of Colorado sports betting. It's like reverse Field of Dreams. If you build it, sports won't come, but people still did. And as a result, been a lot of growth. Where are we at? Top line numbers of Colorado a year in.
We just got the March revenue from the Department of Revenue, and it crossed over $2 billion for the year. That is a crazy number. $2 billion, when, as we just talked about, there weren't major sports until the end of July. So all you could bet on was futures bets or table tennis. That was pretty much the extent of what you could bet on for close to 3 months. And it's still topped $2 billion. That is just crazy to me. So that is the top line, biggest news out of Colorado sports betting in the first.
We did it in less than a year, really. We did it in 11 months, where that first month hardly counted. We've gone from 25 million in handle the first month to what we got today said, how much was betting handle this month?
300.9 million.
That is more than 10 times what we were doing before. And I think there's room to believe that number goes up. I don't know if it goes up in April, but along the way, what do you think in terms of the growth trajectory for Colorado sports betting?
I think it's going to remain consistent. I don't know if it will get that much higher in April, but the fact that Colorado has taken to NBA betting like it has, this is the third straight month that the NBA was the most bet on sport. And I don't think that's just because of the Denver Nuggets, because as anyone watching this knows, Jamal Murray went down with an ACL injury, so he's now going to be out for the remainder of the season. But I think it's a large part of that. And I think the NBA is a fun sport. You have a team that is competitive, with Nikola Jokic having just a remarkable season and drawing MVP betting the way that he has, especially if you jumped on it early. I think I touched on this in the preview. He was plus 2,500 to get the NBA MVP in December. And now he's the favorite. I think the highest I saw was minus 350 or minus 400 now. So the NBA is going to be there, the Stanley Cup with Colorado Avalanche, potentially making a deep run in the playoffs. But I think it's all for naught, because the driver of this market of sports betting is the Denver Broncos. If the Denver Broncos get back to where everyone expects and hopes them to be, that is going to be what makes that number potentially jump up even higher than we've seen at this point through the first year of sports betting.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Broncos did not have a great year. And when we look at similar states, I remember seeing not the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but the year they kind of eked into the playoffs, there was a substantial handle jump of just that one game, because if you have a team that makes it to the playoffs and is somebody you can root for, that's a needle mover. I think our friend Joe in Illinois with the Bears, our friend Jake in Indiana with the Colts kind of sympathize with you that you can only get so excited about betting if your team is going to win 7 or more games. You know, you want to bet the big exciting Super Bowl futures and things like that. And we've seen that already because you've written several of these stories. Colorado is one of the only states that does allow kind of prediction betting on where somebody might sign in free agency. So Ian caught up very early on the Deshaun Watson hype, the Russell Wilson hype. Did we do Sam Darnold, or did he went off the board too quickly?
Thankfully, he went to the Carolina Panthers before I was able to jump on that.
Okay. But yeah, these markets are doing really successful numbers for Colorado sportsbooks. What all have you heard on that front?
I think the main reason, before I get into what I've heard, the main reason that I think you see that is the excitement of getting a quarterback. The one thing that the Broncos have not had since Peyton Manning retired after Super Bowl 50 is a legitimate quarterback. So whether it was drafting Paxton Lynch in the first round, or going with Trevor Siemian, or using the second course of Joe Flacco and Case Keenum, it's just they're ready for a legitimate quarterback, and I think that's why you saw so much excitement about Deshaun Watson when the Broncos were originally listed as a favorite. And then the talk of Russell Wilson, even if it wasn't, the Broncos weren't one of the 4 teams that Russell Wilson was rumored to go to. There was still excitement about, could the Broncos potentially be a team for Russell Wilson? If he wants to go to the Raiders, why wouldn't the Broncos be in that market? So, and now you see it with the draft odds, with potentially getting Justin Fields and Trey Lance. So that's brought the excitement once all the stuff with Deshaun Watson came out and that futures market went away. Now they've jumped on Justin Fields and Trey Lance, which are the 2 quarterbacks being linked to the Broncos the most often.
Now you are, I'm always like our resident Broncos expert. You're not just ours, you have your own Broncos podcast and appear other places. As the Broncos guy, who do you think they take this weekend?
If all 5 picks go as predicted and rumored as of right now, so that means Trevor Lawrence to the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 1, Zach Wilson to the New York Jets at number 2, Mac Jones to the San Francisco 49ers at number 3, then you start getting into Kyle Pitts to the Atlanta Falcons at number 4, your Cincinnati Bengals. At least I think they're going to go Jamar Chase, the wide receiver from LSU.
Give me Panay. We need protection. Poor Joe's leg can't handle it. Another video for another day.
From a betting perspective, that would be where I would lean if I was going to bet on who the Bengals go with at number 5. Even though they've been linked to Chase, I think they go Sewell. But at number 6, if Justin Fields is there, I think that's the sweet spot for new general manager George Paton to move up to number 6 with the Miami Dolphins and get his quarterback.
Here's hoping. I mean, I think, imagine what it would have been like if that Super Bowl year with the Broncos, you could have bet on it in Colorado. Like, maybe that's a story we write in hindsight, even though we're looking ahead in this video. Just how much do you think there would have been in betting handle on that one? Because you're right, it's NFL or bust. Although I do think, I kind of hopped on the Nuggets train with you last year because it was a fun ride. Jamal Murray went to Kentucky, so I'm a fan. And I think that people, that was a good timing piece for Colorado sports betting. It's very new. You're starting to get into it for the first time, and then all of a sudden, you've got the Avalanche doing very well, and you had the Nuggets doing really well. And I think that really helped kind of the growth trajectory of Colorado revenue, even though those first months kind of sucked.
In terms of that Super Bowl run in 2015, I've talked with Jay Carnegie from the Sportsbook, who is a huge Broncos fan, but also a sportsbook director. He said that season, and that Super Bowl in particular, was a dream scenario for him because The book needed the Broncos to win, and he wanted the Broncos to win. So I wish there was an opportunity to go back and bet that game, because not only were the Broncos the underdog, but I would have put money on Von Miller to be the Super Bowl MVP with the 2 games that he had prior to that against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots. Because I think at the time, leading up to the game, he was at like 40-1 odds to win the Super Bowl MVP. So I think the handle for that, even the playoff run, just in January, I think would have been a monster month. Not just the season, but the month of January. And then, of course, the Super Bowl. But that month of January would have been ginormous.
And I mean, keep in mind, we see New Jersey, they get to $1 billion in handle every football month now. I don't know if that's a realistic expectation for Colorado. It is a state that doesn't have a New York to kind of feed off of. Your New York is Wyoming, and you just lost Wyoming to its own sports betting. But I think there's plenty of room for you guys to still grow. And we've talked about this a lot, that month over month, is April a month when you see month over month growth in sports betting? No, because the calendar is just not set up for there to be sporting events in April that compete with football season. But as the NBA gets more and more popular, perhaps the NBA playoffs being stretched out, not being in one place and being in the normal time of the calendar, will help with some of that incremental growth. I don't see, we've seen Colorado's kind of 5th, 6th on sports betting revenue now that Michigan is live. And I think that's a reasonable performance for Colorado, given that it's not the most populous state out there.
Right. I think what will help, as we've touched on, is the Denver Broncos. I think that could be what pushes that number up. I don't know if it'll ever get to $1 billion. That would be a lot to jump up from 300
that's
million.
Like full maturation with very good Broncos teams. You'd have to have situationally a lot of stuff change.
I think the realistic number is probably around 500 in terms of if you have a good Broncos team. So if they get Justin Fields, I think they have a strong enough roster to where if they get the quarterback in place, that can be what leads them to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. And the fact that I have to say that the Chiefs are the driver of not just the AFC West, but the entire National Football League, kind of just threw up in my mouth a little bit, but it is the way it is. I think if that happens, if Justin Fields ends up being the quarterback, or even Trey Lance, I see a lot of Patrick Mahomes and Trey Lance. So that could be what leads the market to hit that $500 million number.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I think what Colorado's doing that's interesting is they are being inventive with the kinds of sports betting offerings that they have. We mentioned these draft props and trade props. This isn't making billions of dollars for anybody, not for the sportsbook, not for the bettors. These bets purposefully have very low caps on them, because you don't want some giant scandal because somebody won $1 million over who was picked the 6th round, 6th pick of the draft this year. Why did I pick such an evil number? I didn't even mean to. But it's incremental revenue. And I think even the sportsbooks themselves, not just the gaming commission, are finding ways to brand themselves with some of these niches. Like we saw, Sky Ute is going to launch this esports driven sportsbook. And when you're one of 20 operators in Colorado, being something different is really important.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things that you're seeing is, on top of PointsBet trying to get an affiliation or a partnership with just about anything and everything in the state.
I'm waiting for like a trade technical college to join in with Colorado University on the list of partners.
Exactly. But you're seeing the Denver Broncos really jump in head first in gaming and sports betting. I think one of the exciting things is, as you mentioned, esports, is PlayColorado.com was the first to have what I believe is the Broncos creating this esports gaming center, where it's going to create a destination spot for gamers, not just in Colorado, but across the region. And if you want to get an idea of what it's like, there's a Helix Gaming Center with the New England Patriots up in Foxborough that has a potential model for what that could look like. But It's not just the esports. You can't talk about Colorado sports betting without mentioning table tennis. And the fact that you can bet on the rodeo in Colorado is another one of those things that's it boggles my mind that you can bet on someone getting on a bull and riding it. I covered Cheyenne Frontier Days for almost 7 years, and the fact that people literally get on a bull for 8 seconds is insane to me. But the fact that you can bet on it is equally insane.
That has to be such a volatile betting market. Like, how angry is the bull today? What colors did it spy? How ornery is it? Has it been fed? You think about football, like one errant pass and it's a 7-point swing. I can't imagine like one bad second on a bull determining how my bet's gonna go. So I'd like to hear more of people who are actually betting on it and how they handicap it. But what you actually did find some table tennis betting experts over the course of the past year to talk to us about 85 million in handle on ping pong in Colorado this year.
It's actually almost to 100 million after March.
Oh, wow.
Which is, it's nuts. I mean, a sport made famous by Forrest Gump, and there's a paddle.
I know, that should have been your Colorado Christmas present. Tom Hanks's ping pong paddle from Forrest Gump, but I'm sure some other person in Colorado is like blowing their roll on that right now.
I joked on the playcolorado.com Twitter account, if the winning bid doesn't come from Colorado, there's something wrong.
Yeah, they missed an opportunity.
Table tennis, it's not even a running joke anymore. It's just an expectation that table tennis is going to be in the top 10. It was in the top 6 for March, bringing in around 8.8 million. It's just, it's just
so insane.
Yeah, well, and jump in on it. I think the state and the operators and the casinos and the sportsbooks should just go all in on table tennis.
Yeah, you wrote this, and I think this is so true. Why on earth has someone not contacted whatever the major table tennis league is in the United States and been like, our casino wants to host a tournament? Like, we'll put a guarantee on it. And I would think once COVID restrictions ease, that's easily a packed house. Because even if you're not betting on it, like, I've never been to a ping pong tournament, but I'd certainly want to see one if I had the opportunity. So
well, the reason it makes sense is Colorado is home to USA Table Tennis. I believe it's housed in Colorado Springs.
Oh, nice.
So they can set up and get a sanctioned event at the Ameristar Barstool Sportsbook in Blackhawk. It's got the size, it's got the amount of space to set up a couple of tables, and then you could live bet it if you wanted to. I mean, there are so many opportunities for this. And the fact that DraftKings will sponsor cornhole, why not sponsor table tennis?
I mean, I don't want to suggest that Barstool try to sanction its own events after the boxing fiasco in West Virginia, but like with Barstool Colorado Lunch, take Portnoy and 16 other stoolies and seed them and have them play a ping pong tournament. Like, people in Colorado, if you run a sports book, call me, call Ian, we will spitball all these ideas with you, because, let's talk a bit about the market. We know FanDuel and DraftKings are the big two, and then you have a lot of other small sites. And I think the question as we get into year 2 and year 3, when do some of these sites potentially throw in the towel because they just can't make enough money?
I think it will probably be between year 2 and year 3, because I think for now the market is still maturing, and I think you're going to see people still unfamiliar with it. And I think what will really help sports betting in Colorado, and I think this is one of the most overlooked factors on it, and I'm going to try to get some operators to talk about it, and I doubt they will because it's an ongoing legal battle. But if Comcast is the number 1 TV provider in the state of Colorado, you cannot watch the Denver Nuggets or the Colorado Avalanche. You mentioned my Broncos podcast. My podcast co-host lives in Chicago. I joked he's watched more Avalanche games this season than I have. And I live in Denver, a little bit outside of Denver. So if they can get that figured out, if Comcast gets Altitude back on TV, that is going to really help betting the Avalanche and betting the Nuggets, and especially from a live betting aspect of it. So
Yeah,
I think there's still some areas where the market is going to grow, which will allow some of these smaller sports books to stick around for a little bit. I think around year 2, year 3 is when you'll start to see them go away.
Yeah, I mean, in New Jersey, we really haven't seen too many just fully shut down. But it's such a, you also are dealing with pretty large casinos, and I think comparatively, some of the brands in Colorado are literal mom and pop casinos. Like, mom works the cashier desk, dad is the pit boss. I'm not exaggerating.
Especially in Cripple Creek.
Colorado, like, it's 3 little kind of small towns, and there are bigger properties, but there are a lot of just like truly the size of a dollar store casinos, all kind of lined up in a row like a general store on an old town.
Yeah, especially with Cripple Creek. We mentioned the Ameristar. There's the Lodge Casino, which will be home to the Superbook, and it will have its mini Superbook, not the size of the one in Las Vegas, but it's planning to open in early June. So there are some good sized sports books. There's the Monarch Casino and Resort is a really huge resort, but Cripple Creek, I've compared it to Deadwood. Anyone who has been to Deadwood, South Dakota, knows how unrefined it is. That's Cripple Creek, where you could literally imagine it still has dirt roads and people riding around on horses.
Yeah, this is also the one I enjoy. The Brass Ass Casino has a metallic golden donkey that I think you're supposed to kick for good luck.
You are.
Is the casino that's haunted in Cripple Creek too? The Audrey Rose or whatever?
Yes, I believe that is in Cripple Creek.
Yeah. I took a deep dive because we wrote these pages on Play Colorado about all the different casinos and what they offered, and it was hysterical. There's like literally this casino is named after like a woman who died there that they believe haunts the place. So bet on the apps all you want. Pay a visit just for fun at least once. So
yes,
okay,
definitely check out Cripple Creek. It is worth just to see. Like you mentioned, these are really, they're not Las Vegas style casinos. These are like anyone who watched the series Deadwood, you could see Al Swearingen standing inside the gym.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now, speaking of, we talked about Play Colorado a lot and what we have to offer there. I think it's time to get a little bit of a plug in that just because we're a year in doesn't mean Ian gets to just sit back and do nothing. There's still plenty of news happening at playcolorado.com every day. We're talking about promo offers. He's constantly talking to sportsbook operators about what's going on there. And of course, we have his constant measure of how the Broncos quarterback quest is going. So do be sure to keep visiting Play Colorado, because even though the launch has petered off and we're getting into a more steady flow of things, we're here to kind of help you make sure you're on top of what you need to know when it comes to sports betting and casinos in general in Colorado. Did I miss anything?
You didn't. And I think as we go forward, one thing that I would look for is when you see these online casino numbers coming in from Pennsylvania and Michigan. I have a feeling that Dan Hartman with the Division of Gaming, he's the director, I think he threw out sports betting as the lifeline to say, here, this is a way that we can get some state taxes, even if it's a comically small number in terms of state taxes.
$5 million, guys. In a year, $2 billion wagered, $5 million, and that's it.
That's it. Compared to Indiana, who had 316 million for the month of March and had 2.5 million in taxes. That's half of what Colorado got in a year.
And as much as you can find the answer on Play Colorado too, I recently did an interview with Westward where they talk about this whole tax issue and the fact that because promo dollars are being used so heavily right now by these sports books, it really lowers the amount of taxable revenue that they're paying to the state. That, to your point about online casinos, it's great for the state. And yes, you see that it's, sports betting is a low margin business. I think people get so caught up in the billions and the handle that they forget, end of the day, the edges are very small. Casino, much less so the case. And it goes back to what we were just talking about with these mom and pop casinos. it's hard to differentiate a sports book and what your sportsbook app offers. With online casino, there's so many different games and different brands that you can work with, progressive jackpots, live dealer games, that now that we're getting towards the tail end of COVID and these casinos are really strapped for cash because they've been, Colorado, I think, was non-operational casinos longer than most states.
Right. Especially in Gilpin County, they were shut down until the middle of June.
And sports betting's not gonna make these people any money. Let's be honest, those small operators. But if you can get a brass ass online casino with the table games that people like and points that you can go and use at the brass ass, or do like a consortium of several online casinos together with little operators, there are plenty of ways to succeed that are easier to achieve than you have with sports betting. So I'm with you that I would really think if you're a casino operator, especially in Colorado, now is the time to push for some expansion into online casino and see if that can really help make up the money lost from the pandemic.
I agree 100%. And I think one of the reasons operators should push for that is because Dan Hartman is very open and willing to work with sportsbook operators. If they want to offer something on their menu, all they got to do is go to him and he will more than likely give the okay, given that there's rodeo and table tennis. So I think he's really going to be open to pushing for online casino, maybe this year, but definitely probably 2 years from now. So within the foreseeable future.
2022 seems more likely.
I think online casino is going to happen.
You're one Colorado sports betting industry. We like how you're doing, but maybe give us some operator data on your revenue reports, because we don't really have that information. 2, ping pong tournaments. As many ping pong tournaments as you can find. And 3, online casinos. And if you manage all that, then I promise you that the number 2 cupcake will look a lot better than this one. It may not taste as good though. All right. Ian, thanks for celebrating Colorado's birthday with us. And guys, be sure to check out playcolorado.com for everything you ever need to know about gambling in Colorado. Till next time, I'm Jess.